else before we jump?
Yeah. Today is my assistant's first day. So it's nerve-wracking, but it's happening. So
So nerve-wracking that you got yourself a sinus infection?
yeah.
Your physical's breaking down. You have no limits
Yep.
to the self-sabotage.
Yep.
That's how you know it's good stuff. When
Yeah.
your body's when you're like when your mindset is strong, but your body's like, one more thing. Hold on. I got this. I can't tell you how many times that's happened.
I'm so excited for you, Ramil. It'll be like a wild, probably first month or so because you got to slow down to speed up. You got to train them.
Mhm.
But once you get through that rough period of like the extra work, it is 100% worth it. You're going to love it.
That's what they say.
Awesome. All right. So, today's Mindset Monday call, I wanted to share something for those that may consider themselves newer in the business and a message for all the veterans on this call as well. And this was inspired by one of the conversations that we had last week you know, um, when you get those calls with some agents and and maybe it's not going the way they want, or you respond in a way that they're not expecting, and you get a certain kind of response from the agent, and it goes a little something like, listen, I've been doing this for X amount of years, and everything after that's just going to be. So today's Mindset Monday call is a reminder of this. Your value is not tied to your volume in units or years. Write this down. Your value is not tied to your volume. Your value is the experience. And so here's the thing, right? So let's shift our mindset here and maybe even establish a new set of perspective where, so number one, your value over volume mindset. It's really easy to start kind of believing that you're bringing a certain kind of thing whenever you've got X amount of transactions going. But yet at the end of the day, what is more valuable? Um, a list of past transactions that are like, I don't know, that you like hit a goal, or a stable of raving fans that are constantly picking up the phone and talking with you whenever you reach out to them, are sending referrals, are gladly, like really willing and happy to provide reviews, that are just, they become almost friends, right? And you can do this as a new agent, and even if you're a super experienced agent, you can reset and realign your value proposition. So it starts with understanding, well, what is my value proposition? And if I were to ask, and if I were to say, like, I could, there's several of us on the call. If I picked one of you and asked you to go off, like unmute, and I'd say, you've got 15 seconds, what's your value proposition? And you're not allowed to say, I really care about my clients. I help them get their home sold in the least amount of time with the least amount of stress. Like you can't say that. You can't say like, well, I really care, because everyone really cares. But what's your value proposition? Why would someone choose you? Right. And so here's the thing. If you have challenge answering that on this call, I guarantee you every single one of your clients doesn't know it either. If you don't know, neither does your client. So that's step one, right? So if we're going to make sure that we're bringing value, how do we measure it? How do we measure the value? How do we measure it? And so one of the ways we can measure value is measuring the client experience as a metric of success. Now, what are the ways that companies measure your client experience? Like, what do you get from companies to ensure that they're doing a good job for you? That wasn't rhetorical. How do companies measure their client experience with you?
They ask.
In what
They,
way? In what ways?
surveys, reviews, they ask.
How many times are you on the call? They're like, would you like to take 10 seconds to then do a quick survey at the end of this call? When you do something, hey, would you mind jumping on, giving us a review, etc.? Why?
Because that's how they know. I mean, that's how they get the feedback to know like how things are going. And
Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. We don't leave good reviews unless we're asked or we're absolutely blown away by the experience. However, it's really easy to do what?
leave a bad review.
Leave a bad review. And oftentimes we don't ask, how are we doing? How is everything going? Do you have any needs, concerns? How have we been communicating? Would you like more? Would you like less? Would you like different? How are things going on so far in our process? Is there anything that you would add? Anything that you would like to take away? What's the one thing that we should stop doing immediately? And what's the one thing we should be doing more of? That's the one most important question that you could be asking your clients in the middle of a transaction or otherwise. It's what's the number one thing that we should stop doing immediately, like that you just is unnecessary, you don't need, and what would you like more of? And then listen. And you may be sitting here thinking, well, like Matt, like I got a lot of clients, and like, how am I supposed to manage or keep that in mind with everybody? The cool thing is like if your value proposition is systematized and you've got some systems in place for communication, engagement, and value, you can either turn on or off certain things or put yourself a reminder when it's time to re-engage saying, oh, hey, by the way, they've asked just to text. So instead of a call, text. You can put that in the notes of that client. That right there goes back to, am I actually using a CRM or am I just doing it when I remember on the road in between showings? Because that's not necessarily scalable. And is it the same value? Like, I know we're checking off a box and we're like, yeah, nailed it. Checked in with my client in between showings. Nailed it. And yet, it may not be the best opportunity for us to provide the best experience, right? So, measuring client success, client experience can be another metric of how we measure value. The third is, are we focusing on long-term relationships or short-term transactions? Are you in this for the long-term relationship or short-term transaction? So let me ask this question. What is the number one most valuable lead source in real estate? Now, people pay a lot for leads.
Your sphere,
So I
Sphere SOI, maybe.
repeat
Is
referrals.
everyone in your SOI created equal? Or are they all valued the same?
no
What's the most valuable lead source in real estate?
referrals.
Well, the referral is a result. The referral is a lead. What's the most valuable lead source in real estate?
Past
The
client.
people giving you business.
People, yeah.
Raving fan. Here's the thing. Some of you have an SOI, but it's just because you corralled a bunch of names on a checklist. And if you went through every one of them, if I said, okay, I want you to highlight who are your raving fans. Number one, would you know? And number two, would it be more than your mom? Right? And so here's the thing, right? How many raving fans do you really need in your database to really change your life? And the answer is not many. In fact, there's a lot of math around the lifetime value of a client. right? And some people get weird when you put like dollar amounts on people, but at the end of the day, as businesses, all businesses have a metric that calculates the value of a consumer or a customer. It's a valid number to track, especially if your focus is on delivering service, exceeding expectations, and providing value, because the average value of the customer goes up as your service and value increases as well. This isn't about squeezing blood out of a turnip. It's about, if I do such an amazing job, I just need an army of people that are out there advertising, marketing, and referring me without fail. Like, what a beautiful business that is. Like, how many of you would never want to make another cold call again, and all you want to do is just talk to the people that are raving fans and love you. When you call, they answer the phone, they're laughing, they're inviting you to stuff, and every time you get off the phone, they're like, "Hey, I've got a couple people you need to meet." You're like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, buddy," right? I'd say that's a pretty amazing business, yeah. So, so the question then is, where are you currently at? If you had to give yourself a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I feel like I'm providing absolutely the best experience possible for everybody that I work with, and 1 being, I love calling strangers, having a transaction, and never talking to them again, where would you rate your business? And where do you want it to be? Here's the thing. There may be a version out there that's like, you know what? I love calling strangers and getting transactions. But then at the end of the day, if that stranger can also offer someone that wants to do business with you once a year from forever, and you're doing 10 or 15 of those a year, plus another 10 or 15, like all of a sudden things start to scale. Right. So going back to the original question, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I deliver value at the highest level, 1 being, I just want to cash a check and roll, where you put yourself. Regardless of what your answer is, whether it's a 5, a 6, 8, a 7, the question is, number 1, how do you measure that? And number 2, what are the things that need to start getting in place in order for that number to go up? So what would be one of the first things you want to put in place? This is participatory now. This is now, I'm opening this up for a mastermind level kind of conversation. So based on what are you currently doing? What if you're not at a 10, and how would you measure a 10? How would you know you're at a 10? And don't give me the whole like, there's no way to be at a 10. Yeah, how do you measure a 10?
The outcome, are you getting repeat clients and referrals?
Here's a really good way to measure is that a majority of your transactions, 80% or better, leave reviews and referrals. If you're receiving reviews and referrals from 80% or better of your transactions, you're operating a killer business. And what's underneath that? Repeatable, thoughtful engagement and interaction. It's the Disney experience. Everyone in the parks is empowered to change someone's day. So how in your business are you or anyone in your organization empowered to impact and change someone's day? What takes people by surprise? What do you think? So if you had to move from a 6 to an 8, what would you begin to put into your business?
So I think it's about about the experience, how they feel and how you make them feel. So just going back to what you said earlier, putting those systems and processes in place so that you cannot drop the ball and make them feel like they are your most important client.
Okay.
I'd also create a system after closing to ask for the referrals and the reviews.
Okay.
Most of the time we just don't ask. And then
Right.
I'd also identify who the raving fans are. Starting there.
Okay. What else? This is good. No right or wrongs here. I just want to hear what you're thinking.
I think sometimes it's when they call me months afterward and they're, hey, can you help me file my homestead? Hey, I have a question about my property taxes. Hey, I got something in the mail and I have they're constantly coming back to me to be educated on something else instead of Googling it or asking ChatGPT. They're coming straight to me.
This is super good, right? So, is part of your value proposition educating everyone in your world that you are their trusted advisor, right? That's a really great way to, if someone says, well, why would I use you? All agents are the same. I mean, I could literally just use ChatGPT in a title company. Why do I even need you? And you could say, well, here's a reason, right? Da 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 and da 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 and da 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 da. And so what else? So that's a really great test. Is yeah, and that starts with, do people know that this is also something that I can do for you? This is what you get, right? Good. What else? How else can you ratchet up and begin to increase your value score that's not tied to volume?
I think there's something to be said too about confidence. So like building up your confidence in the value that you do provide and make sure that you believe in that too, because you cannot project your value to other people if you don't believe in your value internally.
Yeah. And I think it starts with I love exactly what you said, right? Because confidence is a reflection of competence. And the thing is that if you don't, if you believe that value is tied to volume, then until you have volume, you have no value, because it doesn't work backwards. I know plenty of agents that are new into the business that bring value from another experience, and they translate that value into their customer relationship as they begin to accumulate volume, right? So volume doesn't necessarily equate value. In fact, when you partner with an amazing team, you get the experience of that team in real time on the front end. So you get somebody to be able to consult with you and say, hey, here's how we're going to put this together. Here's how we're going to approach the negotiations. Here's how we're going to do this, this, and this. Make sure you're setting up these touch points to talk to them throughout the transit. Like, that is a way to assume somebody's volume through experience, through shadowing, through mentorship, through leadership, that then can translate into your own personal value, right? So one of your value propositions may be when you meet with a client and they say, well, why should I meet with you? Well, because I partner with one of the best agents in the community. We pride ourselves in having the highest reviews and the most referrals out there based on the level of service that we provide. And once you give us a shot, you'll realize why. Right? Love that. I think one of the number one ways to increase your value is through actually articulating the promise and saying it out loud, which then causes you to stay accountable. And we've talked about the promise on a lot of calls. Right? Maybe we jump into that on Wednesday and we do another workshop around deploying the promise in your buyer and listening presentations. Right? Maybe we jump into that. Right? I think one of the number one ways to increase your volume is to make a declaration that this is what we do and then doing it. I remember he was the angriest FISBO I ever met, and they became the best friends we've ever had. And I remember when I went over to do a walk through the guy's house, he literally wouldn't get from behind a piece of paper. All I could see was the top of his bald head, and his voice was like this. And he just never even acknowledged me. And it came through. And then when we finally like listed, he wanted to fight me on commission, and he fought me tooth and nail all the way through until I showed him, like, all right, so here's what we're gonna do, here's what we're gonna do, here's what we're gonna do. And then I would just show up. I would show up with the feature cards for the rooms and have the disclosures. We do all kinds of new photos, new marketing, etc. And he pulled, and the next time I came to the house, He stood up and he shook my hand and he said, "You're the first one to actually do the things you said. You're the first one." And I'm just sitting there going, wait, there's people that say they're going to do stuff and they don't do it. Like, it was totally foreign to me. And so that right there is a value is, do you do what you say you're going to do, or do you pull out a 94-point marketing plan, think that that's going to wow them, realizing that there are people that have that sheet and they're literally scouring the internet with a highlighter and they're just ticking off what they can find. And if they can't find it, they're going to bring it up at your next appointment and go, all right, this 94-point plan, I count 13 things. Where's the rest? And you're like, but I took this class with this guru that said I should just do it. No one would check it. Wrong. Wrong. Right? So setting an expectation, over delivering, value. What else? How can you create value without volume? What else? Sweet closing gifts.
Really, like, I mean, sir, was that Tessa who said about, was that you who said about like, providing, like, if someone asks like questions and stuff? I mean, I have like, I always have like vendors for people that they need. I contribute in my community, like to the sports programs, things like that. Like, I don't I like, I don't so much like, it's not about necessarily giving like everybody something all of the time. It's just paying attention to like what's going on in their lives. Like when people have a loss, they have like a new birth, or, like a kid goes away to school, or, I see like a kid gets injured or something like that. It's just like taking care of them, that, taking them meals and checking in on them and stuff like that. That's it doesn't necessarily help in the real estate like transaction, some of those things, but it definitely gets my name like out to people. And that's not even like why I did it. It's just, it's ended up translating into more business.
Yeah. Yeah. Being a community advocate, right? There's a lot of ways that we can do that too.
Yeah, if you want to know who to use on something, look at who's supporting the sports teams. Like,
Yeah, there you go. Good plug. Good plug there.
I think we could also go back to knowing your market well so that you can be that source of expertise. So making sure that you're making a conscious effort to go out and check the market. What's the market doing? How do we need to pivot? What kind of communication can I give to my clients on why a house isn't selling, why we need to make an offer quick, whatever that is, right? Having that knowledge and education point so that you can provide a higher level of service to them and you can be that go-to person.
Yeah. Yeah. We got 3 jobs, right? We've got 3 jobs. So number 1, we're marketers, we're economists, and we're service providers. What are the things that you can articulate around those 3 areas that bring information, confidence, and ease to the consumer? How does what you do make the process less scary, more transparent, and comfortable? Marketing, economist, service. You nail those 3 things, and you will start to create a stable of raving fans. And you don't have to pay $2,700 a month for the opportunity to do so.
I think the funny thing is that the bar is set pretty low when it comes to service and
Guys, there's no
communication.
competition here.
Right. And so the simple task of just systematizing so you don't forget things is not only going to make your life easier, it's going to make you stand out from others. And you're not doing anything different other than actually remembering to do the things that you promised that you're going to do.
Put a bookmark in that statement. Here's the thing. If you just go out on a whim and do something that provides an experience, they're going to tell their friends and family that you did this thing. And then if you don't recreate or do that thing, they're going to be like, well, why didn't that thing happen to us? Why didn't we get that thing? And then maybe the reason why they wanted to hire you, right? So systematize to scale, right? Final thoughts is when you get really clear on your value and you communicate that value and you connect with those on the value, what naturally occurs? Then the volume rises. And so then at that point, and I'm going to leave you guys with this, if you're providing the best experience possible and you're making the transaction educational, informational, and easy, it's your responsibility to figure out how to scale without losing the experience. Right? If you can help more people and make this process better for others, it's almost our obligation to figure out how do we scale that. Not for an extra money, not just to say, well, because I'd like to make more, it's I'd like to help more people. And guess what? The income follows. Income follows value, and value is what creates volume the right way. And we're at time. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Have an amazing Monday. We'll be back on Wednesday. And then I think unless Michelle and Audra want to coordinate a different color and topic for Wednesday, we'll just jump into the promise conversation and go a little bit deeper on how to execute and deliver on the promise.
Love it.
Later, y'all. Bye.